This is totally normal.
Okay, that's good. So we have,
And that's
Still waiting on the air sheet.
Yeah.
Right now, it's like,
People are just standing around.
I thought things to say.
all right, we spreading around. You're over here now. Okay, we're just waiting for your meeting. Where did he go? Is he
He's parking his car.
He's parking.
that will go back as well.
Yeah.
Forgot something.
Okay, all right. As soon as he walks in, we'll go, hey, it's done.
Am I in the circle or out of the open?
You're not in the circle
Okay.
yet.
But you will be in the center of the circle.
Yeah.
You'll get all the cues to do it.
Yeah, all right.
No.
Okay, good.
I'm just decided to like seclude.
Well, Leander, have you updated your file? All the info?
I updated
They
mine.
told us that's where they carry it when they're traveling.
You had a fair amount of it.
I was really surprised.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I got one.
I was surprised.
No, they never do.
Yeah.
You should try sometime.
It's
It's
true.
impossible.
That's like most people who I have to say.
Sure, yeah, you should have just
It's
carrying it.
not
Why
one
not?
of the
Just
members
get it down.
that by someone who's really into the cutting of it, they said that, oh, it was only used for traveling.
Yeah, and the thing is, it wasn't a back stab.
So this
Yeah.
is figure out
Born.
what was the one for
Yeah.
So this whole movie scene, Hollywood in the movie.
It's just not.
Okay, I'm ready.
Is it was on like 2013?
Because the blade is all in the, so right away.
Yeah.
I am now the president, yes.
No,
Oh
it's
my goodness,
What's that? You want to do, wrestling?
Sure,
Want to do dagger?
sure, yeah.
So let's just try one. Just try one to see.
They're always late.
Probably best like
Actually, it's funny because we were in the mansion. We showed them.
I think he's found a tail lot about a mile away where he's not gonna get the access.
No, we had a bit of a scare
Well,
before.
the thing is, if you on street ones, you get the out, because it's behind it, it goes on the time, I'm gonna be down.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah, well, last time I came here for a free test, I parked at the dollar store or whatever, and it wouldn't sell me enough time to go into the shop, so I had to move up to another one.
Well, yeah, that's what last time we did.
Fortunately, I have a very easy access to roll out map.
Oh yeah?
My partner.
The old location.
Oh, okay. So you got that.
Yeah, that
And
nice.
counter medication.
Yeah.
So,
We're not supposed to know that.
Did you train with us when we were at the fact, fighting arts?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to at least bring back.
Yeah, it was.
That's each fight night I go to do some grappling. I think that'd be good. And each time we have candidate position for next bit of dagger.
Yeah.
Dagger free play.
That was not
Yeah.
It's just fun. I mean, it's not what I want
So the main
Strange thing about it was, you know,
That's just.
I'd be planning to come to the Christmas party tournament, whatever, and you know, hey, maybe it might be a good idea to get a hotel and just walk to the place to sleep over there. No, I was in the old location, no hotel.
That's right, live.
Weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like,
Yes, I know.
Yeah. It's a bit of a kind of putting forward. Study.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the basics.
Yeah.
just, and that's it. And it's trying yeah, the larger it is, but as normal
You know, we got a lot of really new people, so we're concentrating on training others.
all of it.
I mean, yeah, full year up and on.
I think that's something we're bad at, is that last step.
How many times have you tried it?
Good. I don't know why I'm holding like that.
You're trying to.
No, well, I started off with just pure block, like boxy boxes, because I was kind of for two when I first started it, and I realized that even the stance or like the press is slightly different, so I was like, instead of getting
Yeah, maybe that's like try to do phase 1, phase 2, phase 3.
No, here.
That's like still drill. This is
There he is.
mostly a drill.
Yeah.
And
I don't know.
like do the player
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
Alright.
I did some weight
I
training.
think the first step beyond that is just like, call it a fight.
All right, everybody, let's circle up.
So you can do it.
Alright, okay, we'll do more of it. Let me take all-
But is there still someone trying to feed opportunities?
Which section are you
Kind of.
Okay.
And we'll do.
Is there a zoo?
Kind of.
On the spot? Very good.
Yeah,
We need to really find that idea. Yeah. Okay.
Good. Let's go, let's open. All right. We're here today, everyone. Welcome. We're here today to conduct another scholar test, and we'll proceed in the good old way. I call scholar candidate Curran to the center. Curran, you're challenging to be for your right to be known as a peer of this group here. Have you studied?
Yes.
Have you practiced?
Yes.
Have you fenced?
Yes.
All right, as I said, we'll conduct this test in the normal fashion, and we'll begin with the theory portion of the test. So you can put your sword to the side. All right, so to begin the test, there are two people that we talk about just specifically in our recruit program. He knows all about them. One of them is Fiore. Please tell us what you know about Fiore's life and his works.
Okay, so Fiore de Liberi is a fencing master from the late 14th, early 15th century, son of a knight from the northeastern portion of Italy, Cividale de Astoria. He tells us in the preface to his manuscripts that from a young age he sought to learn all he could about the art of arms and the making and nature of weapons. To this end, he studied with German and Italian masters at great expense and cost to himself, and eventually attained a level of notoriety at which he was increasingly frequently asked to teach in the court of princes and nobles and knights and squires and so forth. He tells us that he trained 5 students who fought in the barriers, all with success, including Galeazzo de Ottawa, who says is the only one of his students who owns a book. He makes a point of emphasizing that to truly become a master of the art of armoured, you need to own books, and so he talks about owning books, which is interesting because he's one of the earliest surviving set of manuscripts, but it implies that there are others before him that he owned books. He also was challenged on several, so he taught in secret. There were other fencing masters who took umbrage with this, and he was challenged on 5 occasions to defend his honor in duels with sharp swords, wearing only a padded jacket and gloves. And he tells us that on all 5 occasions he emerged with his honor intact and successful. We have 4 surviving copies of the manuscripts that he produced, or the treaties that he produced. The Getty and the Pisani-Dossi copies are the 2 which we principally depend on at EMMA. They're both laid out in the same sequence, progressing through major sections being grappling, then dagger, sword, out of armor, and then a variety of weapons in armor and finding that combat. He tells us that this is the sequence in which his patron and fellow Destave requested that the manuscript be laid out. The other 2 extant manuscripts, the Morgan and the Paris, are less complete. The Paris bears very strong resemblances to the Sani Dossi, but it is missing some components, and is less strictly, the illustrations less strictly follow the format that Fiore lays out and then follows in the Getty and the PD. And the Morgan is the least complete. It's missing the grappling section, yes, the least complete manuscript. The Getty is the one that we train the most from now, because it has got the most extensive textual descriptions of the plays, whereas the Sani Dossi uses only rhyming couplets to describe the plays, and so it's much more dependent on the illustration when working from the PD. That said, there are some plays that only appear in PD, not the Getty, so we use PD.
Right. Anything else to tell us about Fiore? His books?
So the formatting of the sections, which I alluded to, he has so he presents first remedy masters, which are basically establishing situations in fighting, and he tells us that all of the combat that he discusses is fighting in earnest, mortal combat, fighting for your life. So he's not thinking about sport fencing or wrestling for fun. All of his techniques are intended for lethal combat. So he opens sections with a remedy master, presents the context. That remedy master is then followed by scholars who illustrate the plays that proceed from that context presented by the master. And then there are countermasters who illustrate the counters to some of those plays. Not every play has a counter illustrated to it. Having laid out that structure, he then departs from it in various sections, but the dagger section is probably the one where he most strictly does what he says he was going to do, where each remedy master presents a cover, the scholars show the plays that proceed from that cover, and then there are countermasters that show counters to it.
Is there any visual representation that Fiore gives to denote the figures that you were just discussing?
Yes, so the remedy master wears a crown, the scholars wear gold garters, and the countermasters wear both the crown and the garters. And as I said, the Paris gets a little bit free as to which crowns and garters, but Getty and PD follow that.
Awesome. Right. Any questions about Fiore or his works?
Can you tell us anything about the scholars of Fiore? The students?
The students of Fiore? He talks about 5 of them in his preface, who are all obliged to fight at the barriers at all emerge they're under attack. And he gives some details of each of those encounters. So there's one German knight who fights another German knight. That's about all we hear about them. There's 2 Germans in the fight at Padua. There's Galeazzo de Montava, who's the only one who knows the book, and he fought against Boucicaut of France. There's some debate about whether that is the actual Marshal Boucicaut who was at Agincourt, or his brother, who may have also called himself Boucicaut. And another one of his students, this is the one where he gets into the most detail about the actual nature of the fight at the barriers. He talks about writing 3 passes with poleaxe, 3 with sword, and 3 with dagger. So that's kind of interesting that one of the duels that his students fought sort of progressed through a similar selection of types of contexts of fighting, sort of like the way that the book is sectioned by different ones.
Anyone else? All right. Before we move on to silver, our second guy that we studied in our recruit curriculum, can you please help for us the mission statement of EMMA?
The mission of EMMA is to resurrect, reconstruct, study, research, and instruct the combat skills, philosophies, and principles of an accomplished European medieval martial artist, and to achieve a state which is consistent with that of a medieval warrior in both technology and idea.
Thank you. All right, silver now. Please tell us about George Silver his life and his works.
Okay, George Silver was a master of defense, active in London around the year 1600, which is roughly the time that his two treatises that come down to us were published. I say published because they actually were printed, unlike Fiore's, which are manuscripts. Silver, so the two treatises that Silver produced are Paradoxes of Defense and Brief Instructions on the Paradoxes of Defense. It's debatable whether or not he actually presents a fencing system in those books. I would say probably not. He makes comments on fencing in general, but doesn't present a complete system. And he's got a particular axe to grind with the emergence of Italian fencing masters in London and their teaching of rapier, which he, his particular problem with them is that he thinks that the type of rapier fencing being taught by these Italian masters abandons the principles of the true fight. And that's what we're most interested in, is his principles of the true fight. So he talks about 4 grounds and 4 governors, although whether it's actually 4 governors, 3 to 4 governors. The grounds are judgment, distance, time, and place. So through judgment you gain distance, through distance you gain time, through time you gain place, which is sort of a roundabout way of saying that, or emphasizing the importance of understanding the measure between yourself and your opponent, and then so judgment, understanding that, to get the right distance, to achieve a tempo advantage, to create an opening to strike, or to deny that the same to your opponent. Then from that are the governors, judgment, measure, very different than distance, and the twofold mind. The twofold mind is, which counts as 2 of the governors, is while you are flying in, you must be prepared to fly out, and while flying out, you must be prepared to fly in. In other words, you need to constantly be aware of the nature of the fight and of the changing circumstances of the fight. As you're making your attacks, you have to be aware that the situation may change, and you may need to withdraw or cover. And likewise, as you're covering, you may be presented with an opportunity to attack. Failing to observe those principles would be, setting up a combination of 3 attacks that you're going to do, and then just going in and doing them regardless of what your opponent does. Observing Silver's principles, you may have an idea of what you're going to do, but you go in and you're constantly aware of what your opponent is doing and reacting to that as well.
And is there a particular way that that Silver suggests that we move our body?
Yes, he does. I'm just going to pick up my sword for a second to illustrate this. So, Silver admonishes us to strike in true time. The true times, he says, are the time of the hand and the body, and the time of the hand, the body, and the foot. The false times are basically the reverse, the time of the foot, the body, the hand, the body, the hand, or yeah. So, in short, what he's saying is present the threat, and then move your body and foot behind the threat, rather than presenting a target and then coming behind that. So the antithesis of striking in true time would be something like a baseball swing, where you're presenting a target well in advance of presenting a threat to your opponent.
Okay. You have anything else to tell us about George Silver or his works?
I think that's all I have to say on it right now.
Very good. Questions? Leander, please.
So you mentioned the place. What is the place in Silver's concepts?
As I understand it, it's an opening to the threat.
Okay. Good.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Next, please explain for us, going back to Fiore, please explain for us that picture. You can look at it if you like.
Okay, so this is the Stemio page. One appears in the Sanidasi and one appears in the Getty. I think this one is derived from the Sanidasi. And Fiore uses it to illustrate the principles of fighting with the sword. So surrounding the central figure are there's 4 animals, a lynx, a tiger, a lion, and an elephant holding a castle on its back that represent the virtues of celeritas, prudentia, audacia, and fortitudo. So the lynx, celeritas, the lynx is prudentia, wisdom or knowledge. This is understood as both the knowledge of the art, as well as the knowledge of what is happening in the fight. The lynx is depicted holding calipers, which may be alluding to an understanding of measure or distance from the opponent, or more broadly, sort of the signs of the fight. The lion, audacia, is courage, both to show up to the fight, to trust your knowledge of the art, and then to act boldly in the course of the fight. Celeritas, speed, the need to move quickly, act quickly in the course of the fight, to gain and maintain tempo advantage. And fortitudo, strength, so both, being strong enough to execute the art, but also maintaining strong posture and strong position. So having a solid stance, keeping your weight over the center of balance, and then attempting to deny that to the opponent, particularly in grappling and close fight contests. So Fiore tells us to not put yourself off balance to take attacks. Maintain that strong base, that stable base, and then strike from there. Of those 4 virtues, we would say that audacia is the most important, and if you don't have that, you might as well go and hang yourself. That's in his words. So to both courageously show up to fights and then act with courage in the course of the fight is, in Fiore's mind, the most important virtue, and that aligns with the general spirit of the time and the understanding of the also depicted are 7 swords, which illustrate the 7 attacks. So 6 cuts and a thrust, which are
We'll get to them in the
Okay.
subsequent section for sure. That's sufficient. That's good. Let's actually move on to describing the parts of the sword.
Okay. So, this is an Italian longsword. It blade and the hilt, which breaks down into the handle, the pommel, the quillons or crossguard. Then the blade, up to the point, has 2 edges. The edge that is aligned with the knuckles of my dominant hand is the true edge. The other edge is the false edge. Both are sharp, both can strike. In between them is the flat of the sword. And 2 other key components of the sword are the center of percussion, which can be found by striking the sword, and it's the point of the blade that doesn't wobble. That is the point of the blade at which it most efficiently transfers energy into something that it hits. And so this is, if you're going for a very devastating cut, this is where you want that cut to land. It's also one of the most advantageous points to engage an opponent's blade to win that fight. The other point of significance is the center of balance, which is the point on the blade where the sword balances, usually roughly 10 centimeters forward of the quillons on a sword like this. And that is the point around which the sword moves most efficiently. And so when you're turning the sword, for example, and cut around the blade, you want the sword to move around the center of balance to move with the greatest speed and least expense of energy.
Thank you. All right. Any last questions?
What are the 3 sections of the blade?
The strong, middle, and weak. Strong is so named that way. Strong is the greatest leverage advantage there. The weak, least.
And which parts of the blade can you strike your opponent with?
Any part of it.
Which part?
I could actually expand it and say any part of the sword, and you can strike your opponent with either quillon or pommel.
Awesome. Any, you good? Any other questions? Alright, very good. You're gonna put your sword down. Let's progress to the Abazari section. Okay, Dustin's gonna move the door for the section. He'll come in when needed. To begin, please demonstrate for us and talk to very briefly the footwork that we use in here.
Okay. First there are 3 turns. Back up one step. The fighting stance that Fiore, that all of Armoured uses is sort of a squared off fighting stance. One foot forward. It doesn't need to be. It can be either foot forward, but it's not bladed to be blown like later fencing manuals are. So you're squared off and standing with good fortitude on the balls of your feet. There are 3 turns. So a volta stabile is executed simply by turning on the balls of your feet. Like so. A tuta volta is executed by moving the rearward foot around the forward foot. So, like that. And then a mezza volta, also known as a passing step, is very similar to walking. Although, unlike walking on the street, you're not going hip to foot, you're staying on the balls of your feet and moving your weight in such a way that you can abandon or change the direction at any point during the step.
Okay, can you put those together in a little free flow drill for us?
Okay. There's also increases and decreases. Again, it can be done either way, and it can be done laterally as well as forward and back. So, yeah. Drill.
Okay, good, thank you. Fiore says in the Getty that wrestling calls for 8 attributes. Can you tell us what those are?
They are speed, strength, knowledge of superior grapples or holds, breaks, binds, dislocations, throws, and strikes.
Thank you. Now, Fiore begins, as he often does, the wrestling section by explaining the post of the wrestling section. Can you please show those to us and give us some brief commentary?
Okay, so there are 4 wrestling posta. They can all be done either foot forward. They are iron gate, which has hands basically in front of the hips. Frontale, with the hands in front of the face. This is good for defending against strikes, that sort of thing. Posta longa, fully extended, which you might achieve at the conclusion of a strike. And the boar's tooth. And in longer boar's tooth, where you've got one hand extended, the other one may be covering the face, it may stay in iron gate. Likewise, the boar's tooth may stay in iron gate, it may cover the face with it.
And just in general, what does Fiore use the posta for in his system?
So posta are positions where you may lie in wait for an opponent to attack you, but they are also the positions that you move through in the course of a fight. So as I alluded to with longa, that's the position that you arrive at the conclusion of a strike. And as I get into the plays, I'll illustrate how you move through different posta to achieve different attacks on your opponent.
Okay, let's begin. Please demonstrate for us the first six plays of Abazari from the beginning, and use best as you need.
Tell them what to do, where to stand.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So we stand with our feet mirrored. Okay, so the first play commences with Bastian grabbing me high on the shoulder or the collar. And then he may attempt to strike me, which I'll block. I'll then strike his shoulder, coming through posta longa and up into boar's tooth, intending to turn his elbow upward. That's the first play. The second play, I then come from boar's tooth down into iron gate, achieving an arm bar, or throwing. Going forward.
Stop it here. Just that for the rest of the test, whenever you're demonstrating something, demonstrate it a second time without commentary.
Okay. Okay. So the third play, same setup as the first play. And to get out of this, Bastian bends his elbow. At which point, I push his face and increase behind him to throw him over my leg. So once more, first play that. Okay. Something that he may do in response to that is to step backward, and now we end up in a close grappling situation. At this point, we're now mirrored feet, and I have the option to execute the fourth play, which is a shear, placing one hand on his tailbone, the other on his face, and pushing him backward to destroy his fortitudo and throw him to the ground. To escape from that, he may again pass backward. And now I have another shear, the fifth play, with mirrored feet, same thing in the other direction. If Bastian attempts the fifth play on me, then I have the sixth play. Could do that again, that wasn't that great. So what I'm doing there is pushing his elbow to then get outside of him, wrap him, and then I can pick him up and throw him to the ground.
Can you show us the fourth and fifth one more time?
Yep.
All right, any questions about techniques, please BD.
For the first play, in the case where Bastian has grabbed you by the back of the head and pulled you right over, what do you have to do to make the first and second play work?
He's grabbed me by the back of the head.
Before you can fight, you must regain your
Fortitudo, yes. So I need to stand back up. I would probably clear the hand and then go from there.
I got a question about going back to the forward. So if you were to talk to somebody who knows nothing about Fiore, why would you describe Fiore as being more squared in your stance as opposed to linear? As sort of a square in your stance as opposed to bladed. What would be one of the
Like,
reasons?
why does he fight like that?
Yeah.
So part of it has got to do with the equipment that he's wearing. So if you're only wearing a breastplate, if you're not wearing an all-round protection, if you're only wearing a breastplate, frankly, even if you are wearing a breast and back, your sides are exposed and vulnerable. If you square it off, you're presenting the most protected part of your opponent. That's if you're in armor. The other
Looking for a simple answer.
probably the more significant one is that you play on both sides, and so you're changing your footing, moving back and forth, whereas later systems become much more linear. Forward and backward.
Okay.
The latter part of my answer is probably more significant. Good.
Yeah.
You're good. He's good. Okay. All right. So now, please do a little pre-play with Yosugidori and demonstrate some of the things that you showed us. Okay. Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, get a brief sip of water and come back with the dagger.
Yeah, that's it. Good cheers. Quick question about the wrestling.
Yes.
What is the end result for you as wrestling your opponent? Where do you want to be in correlation to your opponent when you're finished?
Ideally, he's on the ground, you're still standing, you still have your force judo.
Perfect.
And then you can
Exactly.
do other things to him, draw a weapon, or just leave.
As opposed to you both being on the ground. That's
Correct.
the idea.
All right, moving on, dagger. So, please show for us to begin the dagger post that Fiore discussed.
Okay, split the dagger down. So there are a total of 6 posts in the dagger section. 3 are without the dagger, 3 are with the dagger. They're basically analogs to each other. They're all based on iron gate. So there's simple iron gate doubled, and iron gate crossed without the dagger. And then with the dagger, once again, iron gate, hold the dagger, ice pick or point up, iron gate doubled, and iron gate crossed. The doubled and crossed construct can then be extended into a frontale position to make covers, and the same is true of the unarmed post up.
Does he make any comment about which ones are better in armor or outside of armor that you remember?
So he specifically says that the crossed position is best in armor. The reason for this, and the same is true across with the dagger, it is shorter than uncrossed, and so the likelihood of an incidental getting through is higher. You don't need to worry about that when you're protected by armor.
Okay, there's also a page before the dagger plays begin. There's a page with 4 masters on it. Can you please tell us a little bit about that page and why it's important?
Yes. So the 4 masters of dagger are the master of disarms, the master of breaks, the master of keys, and the master of throws. These 3 masters personify, 4 masters, numbers are hard. These 4 masters personify the 4 remedies that you have open to you when you are attacked with a dagger. So you can disarm someone, you can break their arm, you can execute a key to bind them, or you can throw them to the ground. The masters are illustrated in increasing degrees of finery and increasingly large beards, suggesting a hierarchy from disarms through breaks, keys, and throws. With the throw where the attacker is left on the ground with the master standing over him being the ideal outcome.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Do you know the Italian names of the post-it?
You're part Italian, right?
No.
You're done, yeah.
Yeah.
So, the Porta di Ferro, the crossed and doubled, I'm not sure. Couldn't tell you the Italian on that one.
Okay. We're going to have Reno assist you in the dagger section. So please, using Reno as a target.
Okay.
First, show us the strikes against him with bleed.
The mandrito is given, so they're all given with a passing step forward with the right foot. The mandrito, attacking the right, targeting anywhere between the jaw and the thigh. Pendente, straight down the middle. That can be either in a falling strike or more a straight on strike. Reversi, given from my left and my opponent's right side, again targeting between the jaw and the thigh. And the sotani is given to point up and targets the lower abdomen.
Once more without comments. Thank you. All right, so now please demonstrate for us in the order in which you see fit. 1, disarm, break, key, and throw against each of the 4 attacks, although you should probably start by showing the basic defenses first.
Right. Okay, so the covers first. So a mandrito, please. So I'm blocking in posta longa with my left hand, and once I've achieved the block, I'm going to attempt to trap his arm so that I know if he pulls back, and I can either go with him or react to that. Okay. The right hand on this cover, ideally, is making a strike to my opponent's face to disrupt him and give me opportunities after that.
Well, flex that. If they're here, you should do it.
Okay. Benedict. So again, increasing off the line, covering with 2 hands in a V shape, and then once again trapping my hand. One more time. And then a reversi. Again. So coming to frontale here, 1 hand on the wrist of the dagger hand, the other targeting the elbow of the dagger hand, and once that cover is made, again trapping it to gain registration on the dagger arm. And that's the tummy. So very much like the pendente, the 2-handed cover in the V shape, and then trapping the hand once I made the cover again. And all of these covers are made with an increase off the line. Do you want to go one more time around the block for that commentary?
Thank you. All right, so now you can,
Against the mandrito, what sort of hand structure are you using to gain your fortitude on that cover?
So I'm using basically a bladed hand.
Good.
To make a strike and then round. Not putting the thumb out so it doesn't get crushed. I have recent experience in the
training. Yeah. Okay, so now please show us a disarm, break, key, and throw from each of the 4 covers.
So I'll do all of them from 1 attack and then move on. So a mandrito with a stay energy, please. So at the disarm, what I'm doing is turning the hand outward to break the grip on the dagger and take it over. One more time. Okay. Now pull back the dagger roughly shoulder height. So that gives me a middle key. So I follow him in, wrap my hand around his elbow, and use that to gain control of the arm. One more time. Okay. If you could do now a pull back, basically back up to sort of your height. So I also have the upper key option on the pullback there. It's higher up again.
See right now how it is?
Okay. Okay, the break. So this one, either a stay or a straight armed pullback. Sure. After that. So I'm stepping through and breaking his elbow over my shoulder. Once more.
And we have a question from B, please.
Just click into well, how does his elbow need to be for that break to work?
So it needs to be elbow down, upwards so that the arm is straight, and I'm bending it in the direction it doesn't want to go.
Can you change places and do it one more time?
Yep. the strike to the throat as well to increase the effectiveness of that component. Okay, moving on to fendente. So a fendente with a stay underneath. I'm going to now trace down the dagger, grasp the tip, and push it toward my opponent to break his grip and take it away. One more time. Yep, one more. And once I have it, I can strike it or around. Okay. Next, a push through energy. Turning, elbow up, and then I'm going to break his elbow under my arm. Once again. Okay. Pull back, high energy, or pull back high. Here I've got this upper key, and a variation or another option on the upper key, same thing, is above his arm, grasping my own, and posting him right. So one more in the commentary. And throw on this one, so basically a straight arm, straight back up. I'm going to come in, maintaining registration on the dagger arm, and pick up this forward leg. Again. Okay. Reversing. So reversing with a stand. So I'm stepping through, stepping on his foot, not inside it, so I don't get him in my outside line. Wrapping up his arm, and once I have control of the arm, rotating the dagger out of his grip. Again. Okay. The break can be a stay or a push through. So, give me that. Once I've made the cover, I then apply either my hand or give me my forearm to directly after his elbow to either push him to the ground or break the elbow. Again. Do now a reversey with a pull back. Give me the lower feet. So I'm shooting my arm underneath his, and wrapping up to take control of that arm. Again.
Step here, press in.
What's the difference between a strong and a weak lower key?
Okay, do the strike and then stop there. So we start pulling back. A weak lower key, like this, he could potentially stand up out of that. If I get in underneath his arm, now I've got a strong lower key, and I've got my other arm free. Okay.
I actually want to, it looked really good when you did it fast, but I wanted to see if you do it kind of slow, just so I can keep track of it. Okay, let's do it one more time and go slow.
Okay, and then a stay or a push through energy stroke row. And this is essentially the third play of wrestling after I made the millimeter cover. So I'm going to maintain registration on the dagger hand, push the face while increasing to get behind his hip. Once again. Okay.
Nice.
Don't break it. Don't break it, we only got one.
Was that all four on the reverse?
I think so.
Yeah. All right, so Tani with a stake. Very similar to the Fendente. So I'm tracing down to the tip of the dagger and then pushing the point toward him to break the grip and take it away. Again. Okay. So Tani with a push through. Third, gives me a break. So using my upper arm on his, ideally on his elbow to achieve that break.
Again, can you do that again, but do it really slow so we can see exactly where you're intending to put your elbow.
Got it. So I'm putting the elbow on my upper arm. You want that one more time to their commentary? Okay. Hit a Satani to a pullback. So this can also give me the lower key. Again. Okay. And then a pullback closer, basically along your center line. Strains credulity a little bit, but it's in the book. Through. Whoa!
He says he saw it done, so it's real, right?
You want that again?
I do.
More height, though. More height. I'd like to see it tumble in the air.
Can you get two spins?
All right, good. Thank you. Thank you, Curran.
Thank you.
Any questions about anything that we've seen? Leander, please.
So generally, when you are doing a throw, there's often a step with it. Usually, like if they're doing a pullback energy, you're doing a throw. How far should you step? So for example, it could be the first gravity master throw where you made the cover and then you're doing the clothesline in.
Far enough.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, with that specific play, I'm looking to basically have my hips parallel to his hips to get me a point of leverage.
Okay, thank you.
Have you ever been taught about triangles on the floor?
Yes. So.
This relates back to the English class.
Yeah, so relevant to the shears as well as the shears and grappling as well as some of the throws in dagger. So if you imagine basically a triangle with my feet on 2 points and a third point behind me, that third point is where I'm putting his center of gravity when I throw him.
Andy, did you have a question?
No. Briefly explain the difference between high, middle, and low keys, then I have a brief yes or no follow-up question.
Okay, so the so the high key is with the arm, ideally a 90-degree angle, upper arm roughly parallel to the ground, and twisting it backward like that. Middle key is 90 to 45-degree angle, but at lower levels, the hand on the arm key is roughly in line with the shoulder, and then you twist it with the elbow coming forward to apply pressure to the shoulder, and the lower key is sort of the inverse of the upper key, 90-degree angle, and then twisted backward to apply that torque motion.
Good. Brief yes or no question. Do you know your counter keys?
We need counters to the keys or the keys?
Just
So
curious.
doubling up counters a lot of keys.
One more question, very simple question. What's the main function when someone's attacking you with a dagger when you don't have a dagger? Like, what is the main thing you have to do when you're getting into these circumstances?
Get undead. Prevent the dagger from ending up inside me, 1. 2, take control of the dagger and or the arm wielding the dagger. And once I have control of the arm wielding the dagger, do other things while maintaining that control.
Why do you think that Fiore shows these masters becoming so more elaborate over the course of the massive breaks, disarms keys, and why they start to look different towards them? Is there a certain precedence of what could be better than, like, could a disarm be, could a break be better than a key, a disarm, or could a throw be better? In your opinion, just in your opinion, what do you think would be the ideal solution?
I think he's showing a hierarchy, both sort of in terms of what is ideal, and also arguably complexity.
Okay.
So the disarm, like if we just do a Mandrito disarm, I've got the dagger, but he's still standing up. He can still fight me.
Right.
Whereas if I complete a throw, which is the most elaborate master, he's now on the ground. Many of the throws will end up with the dagger going solid place.
Awesome.
And so I'm in the position of greatest advantage after the throw.
Exactly right. Awesome.
All right, please mask up, and we're going to do some dagger free play. Okay.
It's not an old man's game. I'm in the same boat with you, buddy. I just pulled my back reaching for the remote. No, I'm only standing.
Yeah. Oh, very good. Please proceed.
Use strikes.
Yeah, 20. Okay, stop up here. Thank you. Thank you, Reno.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before you take a quick sip of water, what would you say, what part do strikes play in all the settings? Wrestling, daggers, or why mix them in, and what would they do?
Two things. So one, pain compliance. So potentially, and that kind of connects to the second, which is disruption. They can buy tempo, but they can't be relied on in their own right to end the fight. While you might be able to kill someone with a strike, it's not reliable. So when you and even pain compliance is not that reliable, but you can use it to create disruption and build tempo for yourself.
Okay, quick sip of water and come back with the sword, please. All right. So the sword. Let's begin as we do with post-up. Please show us all post on the sword.
Okay. So this is tail on the left, forward tooth, middle iron gate, which can be either foot forward, full iron gate, on the right, Postoladana, which can be either forward or refused, Finestra, Horno, either foot forward, Finestra on the left, Ladonna on the left, cut forward into Longa, and then Frontale on either side, which can be with either footedness, and Breve on either side with either footedness, and back in the tail.
And in one hand?
Essentially the same. With tooth, middle iron gate, full iron gate, tail, Finestra, Ladonna, Horno, Finestra, Ladonna, Longa, Frontale, Breve, yeah.
Sometimes we talk about the variations of Posta Longa.
Yep. So that refers to hand orientation. We borrow from, I think it's 19th century saber where this nomenclature comes up, but prime, second, terce or third, quart or fourth, and then a reverse prime.
All right, show it all again without commentary, please. Very good. All right, using the meander as a target, can you please demonstrate for us the cuts and the thrusts?
It's a trick question. This is for bonus points.
Go on, go on.
Tail guard on the left.
Yes.
Why do you do it the way you do? And there's no right answer or wrong answer. If you don't have an answer, just say, I don't know.
So I've been tucking my left hand underneath my right so that I can move the sword quickly. In a sword in one hand defenses, the sword comes up along that track. I have my hand on top, we're getting in the way. This guard also is suggestive of where the sword would rest in a scabbard. And we see that comes up in the 133 system as well, where first word implies where the sword would rest in a scabbard. And so if I was drawing, my left hand would be on the scabbard.
Okay.
Good. Okay.
Okay, so the cuts. So first one is fendente, the falling cut, entering the body.
You can hit on
So teeth to knees. Same thing on the reversey side, teeth to knees. Second strike is the Matsani, which is given in a plane parallel to the ground. And on the reversey side, with the false edge. The reason for striking with the false edge is to maintain true time, so that the sword blade proceeds ahead of the hands. If it was given with the true edge, strikes much more like a baseball swing. And then the sotani, the rising cuts, they follow the reverse path of the fendente, moving through the body from the knees to the teeth. So sotani, frito, and sotani, reverse. And then the last attack, it's not really a cut, but it is just a thrust.
How many different thrusts are there? That's a trick question, I suppose.
1 or 5.
Both.
Yeah. 1 thrust given with 5 hand positions, or 5 different thrusts, 1 any hand.
That's perfect.
Where do we usually say that cuts finish?
Posta longa.
Can we support the attack with this time in distance using your Zook's protective body?
Hit it.
He didn't need dessert. For some reason. Yeah. Okay, and in one hand too.
Sure.
All right, so with regards to how swords react together, can you please talk to us about the different kinds of blade engagements?
Okay, there are 4. So the first is a bind, which is an edge-on-edge engagement, which with sharp swords would actually cause the swords to bite into each other slightly, and so there will be some stickiness in that engagement.
Please show us with yours as well.
Yep, so we're engaged edge to edge. The sharp swords, they would bite, and this kind of escaping that we have blunt swords wouldn't happen. The second is an oblique. So this is engaging not quite edge to edge in a way that they bite, and it is often given with a slight increase, which deflects the blade off. The third is a beat. So this engagement is with my edge to his flat, again to displace the sword, using mechanical advantage to do so. And the third is a void, which is actually the absence of a blade engagement. So where I have declined to contact the blade, but actually done something else. So this might be something like a trazione, where I avoid the engagement and go around, or where I void backward to avoid a supply.
Is there a preference or a hierarchy to the blade engagements, and if so, why?
That's a good question.
That's what B does.
I'm going to say that a bind is superior because it gives continuing registration on the opponent's blade.
Maybe asking is there one that gives you more advantage or more time?
I think it's quite situational.
I expand
An
on
oblique.
that.
So,
Which one gives you in one tempo the defense and attack?
okay, so an oblique gives you a single tempo round.
Okay, so please now, twice around each time, please show us basic defenses against all the strikes around the clock. Okay, and you can mask up probably. So do everything in 2 hands first, twice around, and then in 1 hand, twice around the clock.
Okay. One hand?
1 hand, please.
Same one? Good.
Good. Several questions. BD, please.
Out of curiosity, what is Fiore supposed to do against the thrust from the left?
Against the thrust from the left. I would think that the same thing that we do against any thrust.
So can you give Leanne, can you give Curran a thrust on the left side?
My left or his left?
Both? Yes. Okay. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's Speedy?
I was looking for a break.
Oh, we'll get to the place.
Taking over the
You showed us the defense in one hand from a diversity of position. Fiore actually shows us only one. Which one it is and what do you think it's a good one?
Yeah, so the one that he shows is from tail to the left.
Yeah.
And then it's done with a slight increase and then back forward. So should we just go around following that one? Same one? Yep. So that's movement either good.
Okay. Others, no? Good. All right. Let's get into the plays now. Well, before we do, of course, Fiore divides his discussion of the plays into the sword in two hands in two sections: largo and strut. Jacques largo, Jacques strut. Can you please define them for us very briefly?
Okay. So largo, wide play or long play, is from the tip to the middle of the sword blade. This is the distance at which you can arguably leave a bind without immediate penalty. Once you're in stretto, you're closely engaged. At this point, you can't leave the bind. And this is where you get into a lot of grappling and offhand play.
All right, you can put your mask down. All right, so let's begin by exploring the largo section. Can you please demonstrate for us all of the largo plays that we know?
Okay. So the first play is a response to a fendente cut. I'm going to increase offline, make it a oblique engagement, and follow the cut right through to strike his head with a single time. Okay. The second portion of that is if he perceives what is happening, turns his edge in, and binds and takes the center line, then I have this option. So we do that very slowly. Mezzo frontale, doing a mezzo volta, and coming around to cut his hands or his head. One more time. High speed. Okay. Similar to, but not identical to that cut, is the peasant strike. So if he comes in now with a very telegraphed or heavy fendente, I can do either the same cut around, or an alternate footwork is actually pass forward through fenestra and then cut. So if you do that one more time. So I'm using that fenestra to shield my head, gain registration on the blade, make sure it's going where I think it's going, and then cut around. Okay. Those are all blade tip distance engagements. Next I'll move to mid blade engagements. So once again with a fendente, this time engaging mid blade. So first thing I can do here is drop my blade down to cut at his hands, and then thrust to his chest or face. After.
Is there a reason why you wouldn't cut her out?
At mid-blade distance, I have neither distance nor time. I'm too close. If I try to leave that engagement, I'm probably going to get cut before I, or we'll double. So another play from that similar engagement is I can grab his blade, and I can then apply either a cut or a thrust to his head or face. Also from the blade grab, I can then deliver a kick to his knee, kind of bend his knee in the wrong direction. Or I can right through that kick, basically kicking the ball. So again, And here I'm giving a push kick to his stomach, but that would probably be more like a upward kick to the crotch there.
When is the right moment to grab a sword?
When it has stopped moving before it starts moving again. Otherwise, you lose fingers. Okay.
With that push kick, what is the actual target, not the safe target?
Yeah, so the actual target is his crotch.
Okay.
I think he wants you to confirm in this.
I just wanted to make sure.
Okay, one more time, I'll finish it.
Good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So, do this one now so I don't forget it. Think about it. So, this play is it's called Punta Falsa. It is not really sure where to put it, so I'm just throwing it in now. So this one is I get this by basically massively overselling a Mazzano strike at my opponent and convincing him to overparry. So as I come in with the Mazzano to overparry, as soon as those blades make contact, I turn my sword around into half sword and deliver a thrust. So once again. Okay. And then I'll talk about responses to thrusts. So you just deliver center line thrust on me. Okay. So I'm coming to basically breve, setting his sword offline, and putting my point online for a single time remedy. That's the exchange point. One more time. Okay. This might be what you were angling at earlier. The other play, other option I have on a thrust, particularly one coming from this quadrant, is to break point. So again with the thrust, put it into the ground. If it's in my presence, I can step on the blade and deliver a satani cut. And if it's not in my presence, I can still do the satani cut, but I need to be mindful that I'm probably going to press that blade again very quickly.
Well, if you had it, if you had it perfect and everything was as you wanted it, where would your feet be at the end of that play there? You just showed that break, where the blade wasn't in your presence.
Where the blade was not in my presence?
Yeah. So where you cut up and cut back down again, what would you do with your feet?
Yeah, so, go back. Yeah, so pass forward and that's the whole bag. So that I'm moving away from the blade as I'm coming in.
Okay. Others? Did I see other things?
Well, now that I'm asked. You know the follow-on blade, if Usador lifts his arms and does not allow him to cut up into the beard.
If you haven't done it, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Yep, never mind.
We teach that only the 7th level inductees. Okay, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt your flow.
Making a point.
You did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the largo.
Great. Okay, any questions about Largo? Before we move to Strata? Yep, yeah, please.
Okay, so you did 2 plays at the beginning of Longsword, one with instantly hitting me, and the other ones where I turned it completely to force it to cut around. If my blade is in the center but not but I'm still alive, what do you do?
So I can slide it to the thrust through, either in third, carve or cream. Coming to carve or cream gives me more of a position where if you then push me offline, I can sort of hang around. Okay, thank you.
Maybe?
What if the ender cuts at your leg?
Yeah. I'm going to void and try to defend. Do that again.
Looked like he was cutting his crotch.
All right, very good. Let's move to Strato now. So same instruction with Strato, please demonstrate all the Strato plays that you know.
Okay. So the Strato, the master Strato, indicating there's only one, is crossed in close, and it's shown both right feet forward and crossed at the mid to strong of the blades. The 2 right feet forward, without reading too much into it, may suggest that both players have passed to come to this crossing, rather than one player increasing. It's not to say that there have to be match feet to enter Stretto, but it also suggests a parity between the 2 players, in that either player can do any of the plays, and so whoever acts first has the advantage. So there are costs support in this case. So the plays that are open to me at Stretto distance depend on where the crossing occurs relative to the center line, and how high up it is. And that then dictates where I can enter onto my opponent. So if we're crossed relatively high, and I'm able to come in underneath, I can suppress his hands and deliver a pommel strike. If we're crossed and sort of my right at the center line, I can do that same play, or I can come through with a 2-handed pommel strike, and then I can follow the pommel strikes by turning my sword around back here. So do that a little bit faster. The other one. Okay. If the crossing is more to my left of the center line, then I can either enter over my sword to grab his hands pommel, or hands grip Quillum, ideally in between his hands, free my sword underneath to either thrust or kind of get a draw cut on him there. So without commentary. And crossing is a bit higher. His hands are a bit lower relative to mine. Then I can enter underneath to suppress the sword and free mine for a thruster on his line. I can also, so variation on that, just come in with a backhand suppression just to get a very brief tempo advantage to bring a point online or get a quick okay. A relatively high crossing may give me an opportunity to enter underneath, grab his arm, and execute the disarm of the first master of dagger by twisting the arm. I find a passing step back helps to keep his arm straight and maintain that tension as I turn full sword. If we could do a few crossings from the reversey side, there's different options available from this side. So one, now the pommel is directly in front of my hand, which allows me to push the pommel up and do things from there. I can also, from a reversey crossing, jump off the half sword, press his sword and go straight under his hand. So each of those are on here.
From the right crossing, is there any way that we get a middle key?
There is. So from the right crossing, if his arm is slightly bent and I'm able to make that entry underneath, then on the subject of middle keys, I can also do a middle key on his sword. So if you give me a faster than that Sano from the right, not exclusively, I'm going to wrap around, grab his thumb, and take his sword away. Okay, and then on the subject of taking swords away, Fiore shows us several disarms. But before I get to that, there's one more thing. Okay, we're crossing in the center again, and this is in a fairly center line position. I can also come in with my quill on, gouge his hand to push it up, and then wrap his arms, free my sword, with his hand wrapped up. That's a good one because it gives me double line with his hand, and then I So disarms. All of the disarms the Fiore presents at the end of the strata section use the same mechanic of rotating the opponent's sword counterclockwise, cross his hands, and break his grip. So the first one, from the strata crossing, usually over the hand, and then using the pommel or grip of my sword to push the sword in that counterclockwise rotation. This one is great because now I have two swords and I have them. If I can't get that deep on him, then I can also come in between his hands, do a similar rotation on the sword using my pommel as a lever. Or if his pommel is accessible to me, I can grab the pommel and then apply the same rotation. I'm making all of these with a tunable setup to increase that leverage. And then perhaps the boldest disarm is commanding my sword, take his and turn it out of his hands. Once again, that one. This one really depends on celeritas to quickly attack the blade, and it's one of the only times where one of the few times in Strata where the entry is actually made with the dominant hand first.
I would beg to differ. This one is audacious all the way. This one's like, it's audacious. I mean, it's celeritas, definitely.
Yeah, I'll buy that.
All right, is there anything else you'd like to show, either in Largo or Strata?
That's all I've got. I'm ready for questions.
Okay. Any other last questions? Yeah.
At the beginning you said that in special, both people have the right foot forward. What does this mean about which person is the agent and which person is the patient?
So the master is illustrated with both having the right foot forward. I think this suggests that whoever moves first is the agent. So regardless of how that crossing was made, whoever moves first wants their instruction.
I think I haven't been glancing in your direction too often. Do you have any other questions?
No, okay.
Yes? Okay. No questions from Fiore. All right, very good. So that concludes then the theory and practical portion of the test. We will all adjourn and armor up, and then we'll resume the defensive portion in about 5 minutes. Okay? Please go get dressed.
Why not?
By the same time, I'm too cheap. $5, no. $3, no. Somebody's backyard and guard it. Score. That's really cheap, except when they told the clients. Oh. And wait, seriously, where'd you go? So there was a parking lot I usually go to when I'm under construction. Okay. I parked in there and then I was like, there's no vending machine. There's nobody else here. It's under construction. Will I be able to get back in? Yeah, no, exactly. So went found another place. Okay, so yeah, under construction. Surprised! I know, me too. That's not going to keep going for much longer. Baby. So he's 7th or 8th in the line to fight. He's number 1. There you go.
So it's funny like it's been 5 weeks since Anthony's test, and Anthony's test he was just confirmed to be home. But now he's a little better at crawling, he's standing.
Those phases come up quick, don't they?
Come up quick, right? And so she's just like, I don't want to be held, I want to be moving around.
Mom, I love you, but get away from me.
Just wait till they're teenagers.
During any of the free play, he was very interested and entertained. But when the free play wasn't happening, he's like, "This is boring."
Change the channel, Mom.
Change the channel.
No, you know there's that section where we defend ourselves against thrown objects. Just get like a fine assortment of objects.
Well, he's
If you can dodge
with
wrenches.
the sword on the sofa over there. He was having a blast. Just standing on the sword and banging on the sword.
He's not even I didn't realize he actually was enthralled. He just been watching defense.
Oh yeah.
I would imagine most kids are like, that's crazy.
It's high iron content in blood. That's really what does it. Get magnetized, attracted to swords.
Sorry, just getting some energy out there.
Probably would work.
We do the same thing in free play. We go
This, the next step would be more.
afterwards, so sleepy.
This is the fighting.
Are you gonna fight?
I can't.
Throw swords from the side.
Yeah. We could have the thrown weapons section of the fight.
There you
Phil stands
go.
with 5 swords and just wings them at him. If you can stop even one of them in
He
passing.
catches one in midair.
Yeah. Or better still, strikes it, spins it, and sends it back around. Whoa.
Where's the crown? Where's the crown? That's a scholar for scholar too.
That's free scholar, provost, master free scholar.
I come back down, he goes back to sleep, and then we get a couple more hours.
Yeah.
But today he was like, I'm awake.
I'm done.
It's like instead of being awake at 3,
Yeah.
awake at 5.
Yeah.
Much better.
So,
But-
You've been awake
scholar
since
test.
Yeah.
You need to do your scholar test.
As soon as possible, but I'm only a month some in, so.
But I'm glad to see you're interested.
Yeah, I mean, this is one, there's many different ways to learn, and I think using,
Well, the
everyone
spelling
has a
was probably-
primary kind of method of best ways to learn reading makes such a difference.
Sure. No, it's good.
Like reading, actually reading, and then just about watching it, it's like very
We wouldn't be able to do it.
No, yeah.
Well, because they're so.
She doesn't get
Yeah,
out.
I was going through and reading them last night as well. I was kind of just like, okay, some of this makes sense only because it's also the last part, but that's because it's already been done. It's interpretation, understanding, and putting together.
30 years around the world.
Yeah. Because even as I'm reading it, because there's some pieces that I haven't quite got to across yet, or it's kind of like, so reading some different things. Or even looking at the pictures, like there's some that when they're facing class looking at it, nothing in there is that. And then I see it and it's like, oh, it makes sense, but.
Well, that's it.
Oh yeah, yeah. She does a thing for a while.
Sometimes even like, I'll open the door and she can
He's those guys
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
He's always said one thing destructive. Unless you know for a fact it's original, it's probably not.
So when you say that he didn't write this one, do you mean that?
No, he wrote it. This is not his original.
Okay, it's been
one he gave to
transcribed.
the- Yeah, it's been written and rewritten.
And then words even slightly could be
Well, it's
slightly different.
I've been translation of the word. More than this translation, it's the opposite.
Plus the
Same
pictures.
play, but the opposite.
Yeah, and if you draw pictures slightly different, then that can also change it. That's interesting. Yeah, it was just, well, after also sort of seeing this, right now I've just been kind of through and reading about it myself, but now I'm also more curious to go on the YouTube and see what kind of different discord there is. Different people who have like studied in different ways and like what they think about it. And so I think that in that way.
Although, you know, what's interesting is very
Yeah.
there's something different.
Or I guess even some of the arguments around like history, like there is themselves backgrounds, information.
I go Tuesday fight to the top.
You don't know how to ask all the
It's like you haven't been paying attention to
You know what it is? It's what it says.
Yeah, it's like,
That's true.
where?
No, like, come to me, I will teach you.
Oh, I see.
It only costs $1,000 a month. But,
Are you out
here, there's a moment in time.
You don't have to go.
But anyways.
I think some of that is what makes it a little bit.
It's just Reno and I.
It's almost like reading a comic book. It's
Well, yeah, I guess I'm sick.
especially the bad guy in comic books who's like always
Yeah,
just
right.
saying a lot of stuff, but like. It's the one of the things where it's like you should just finish it because it's
Been a minute.
the other guy's gonna do something. But yeah, I think it's kind of fun.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I like to art. I do art.
I'm before you.
Before it, so
You're
it's-
the same.
Oh, I guess, like, I have to. I'll get into it. Because I like to write and I draw, and I was like, what are these? So like, I was doing ideas of what I was writing. Because I remember fighting the my first two fights. You tested before me, and I remember fighting you on my test. Yeah, yeah, also just memory as well. Yeah. And then that's all we have is the best way I find, like, learn and understanding it in a way too, like, there's different things you can do with this class.
Yeah.
Philosophy of this is actually somewhat transferable. Well, even the virtues of prudence and like this fortitude and absolutely, it somewhat applies to different aspects of it. It's like speed, like these different things.
What it is it's you're learning. It's like read.
Yeah.
Before you relax. Yourself unless you think
We wouldn't have like, full rushing, non-stop for like 90 seconds.
Can't talk to you. It's like talking to a pitcher when he's on a roll. You just gotta keep him in the corner, let him do his thing.
you're fighting for
I think it was.
Okay, let's resume our positions, let's get ourselves in order. Let's have the beginning of it close to the wall. Are we missing anybody? Somebody in the bathroom. Could be. Okay. Yeah. Okay, everybody know their places? Okay, come over here really quick.
Better know your place.
I'll be back. It appears. Okay, you get your sword turn. Carol's gonna.
We are planning.
Yes, yes. Okay, so we'll now commence the fencing portion of the test, after which we will adjourn to grade the test. We begin, as we always do, with the newest scholar going first, and that'll be Raina. How long for, a minute and a half? Okay.
Back up a bit.
Until you leave.
Back up a bit.
Last pass.
Thank you. Good.
Hey, good.
Good. Good. Good. Yeah, head.
Last pass.
Andrew, far off well.
Good. Huh. Good. 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 Ah, good.
Last pass.
All right.
Good.
Nice. Thank you. Alex.
Take your time.
Is it? Well, okay, he's got it. And next we have Beatty from, again, far off Guelph, gracing us.
What do you?
Double. Hey, good. Hey, good. And good.
Last pass.
Good.
Thank you.
Good. All right, and the last scholar in the list we have Ian. Good. Yeah. Good. All your hits. Good. 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 Good.
Last pass.
And we're going. Good.
Thank you.
Good. Okay, take a minute and a half to breathe and take water. Okay? Take your time, man. Take your time. Deep breaths, Curran.
Oxygen, man.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the long one. This is a big one.
Yeah. You see the one we do with what's it called? Anyways. Okay. So now we're at the final portion of the fencing portion. So the scholars, of course, are the ones that vote to the result of your test. The free scholars and provosts are here to take pleasure in the test. And we're now going to fence you until we're satisfied. Okay? And the first one, of course, will be our newest free scholar, Anthony Lavio. Anthony, please.
Good. Breathe it out, breathe it out.
Yeah. Got me. Good.
He tore his head off. That's one way to get ahead.
Good.
Awesome.
Very good.
Thank you.
Final thoughts?
All right, now it's just me. Whenever you're ready. Hmm? Button's open. Can someone fix this button? That's just what I was gonna thrust, so I thank you for noticing. Shucks. All right, very good. Ready?
That's
Good. Watch the mirror.
yep. Stop. Just have a mirror.
One more.
Good.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. All right. All right, sit down. We're going to adjourn and grade the test now, okay?
I feel like I would want to go get this done before we have more free scholars, because that more people can move up and more people go.
Thank you. game now.
Last time, throw one more time and take it away. Do you want to balance?
Forearms are really burning by the end of that.
Any muscles?
Yeah.
I was wondering with some of it, because I heard you fall elbow times. Like, does it protect well, or?
Yeah, not
Most
bad.
people have
Not bad.
tolerance.
I think I got one on here that I'm feeling, but.
Just need controlling that much weight on that fulcrum. It's a lot.
Yeah. It felt like it went by a lot faster than I thought it would.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Tiring.
Oh, yeah.
The one thing I've noticed is that everyone has somewhat distinct style of fighting.
I was just thinking that.
Like, for example, like, it's very fluid and like almost like water, like moving around. It doesn't like, whereas others are kind of more set up and go.
Yeah.
It's like particular isms, I guess, like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the two wealth scholars challenging it that never fought them before.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you witnessed them fight before?
Yeah, like in videos.
Yeah, it's a little
Well, I've seen D, I don't think I've ever seen it.
Think we saw tomorrow?
Probably.
Sunday's the day of.
An ice bath or something. Full body icing, just instead of icing individual spots for people.
the hazard. And we've all took pleasure in seeing your test for scholar. It's my privilege to reward you with the rank of scholar of the Academy of European Medieval Martial Arts. Welcome you to the circle. So that dagger is for you to hold in lieu until you receive your proper one, because your provost.
Not in the loo.
Not in the loo. Yeah, daggers and bathrooms don't that's about later. So let's close, and you'll go in the circle as scholar. Oh, it's already falling apart. She broke it up, right?
You have one job.
Just get a tube of shoe goo and put that on there.
Right.
All right.
Congratulations. Well done.
Awesome test.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
Good work.
Thank you.
That's one.